Hello everyone, I am Adiba and you're listening to Education Eureka. This is where we bring together ideas and people who are rethinking leadership, learning, and the future of work. I like to keep these conversations real, practical, and inspiring so that you walk away with something you can reflect on and actually apply. And joining me today is Dr. Ajay Bakshi. Over the last 35 years, he has worked in leadership roles across the globe, including Chief Human Resources Officer and Director of HR at Prudential and Vodafone. Ajay has also partnered with C-suite leaders from multinational public enterprises and family-owned businesses to help them navigate change, build strong teams, and grow as leaders. He is also the author of Build to Outperform and Build Your Leadership Skills Lessons from Martial Arts. Ajay, we are absolutely honored to have you here, and we are really looking forward to this conversation. So this is Adiba, Managing Director at Education Eureka. It's an
Nice
absolute
meeting you.
pleasure. Yes. Ajay, before we get into the incredible work that you're doing now, can you take us back to the exact moment or experience that first sparked your journey into leadership and transformation? What was that turning point for you?
Yeah. So I would say there were several turning points in my career and which has helped me understand leadership better and also apply concepts of leadership better before moving into a journey where I am now advising, coaching, and mentoring leaders to become more effective leaders and drive transformation, both for self and others and their organizations. So I would say the first, the point of time where I've done, you can say a leadership role is where I was very actively involved in sports and at the inter-school level, I was a captain of my table tennis team for the school. Subsequently, my engineering college, which helped me realize that in school I was ranked number one in table tennis, and I was one of the top ranked players even in Mumbai schools. In college, in engineering college, that's where I continued the journey after a 2 year break, for my academics to concentrate on academics. That is where I embarked on my journey again in table tennis, where I captained my college team for the inter-university matches. And interestingly, there I was not the best player. I was ranked number two. So that was my first insight into leadership, that you don't have to be the best in what you do. You obviously have to be good at what you do, and you have to be, relatively aware of what the others are expected to do. But
Yes.
leadership is all about inspiring people and getting people to enhance their commitment, ownership, and drive performance and results. And in fact, during my tenure as a captain, we were ranked number one, and that is from number three we were able to come up the ladder to number one. And one of the things which helped me there was working with my team, working with my colleagues, and helping them get the best amongst themselves. So this is where this was the first turning point in my role as a leader. Then in college, again, I was the convener and the coordinator of the mechanical engineering chapter of the Institute of Engineers, which is a national level body with localized chapters. And we were able to drive awareness, enhance, build credibility for the chapter during my tenure, which again, I realized it's about getting people together, both internally and externally, and helping them get to see your vision and align with your vision and purpose. So these were my fundamental early stage learnings, I would say, on the job. There was nobody to guide me, mentor me at that point of time. But these were early lessons of leadership which I have learned in my student days. Then subsequently, when I did work, and I started off like anybody else would, as an individual contributor. And then when I was assigned people manager roles, I was able to draw insights from my engineering colleges, plus add a few more insights where I realized that in engineering college, you more or less dealt with people who were homogeneous. They had a similar knowledge of experience or lack of experience, similar education backgrounds. Cultural backgrounds were different and diverse, but eventually, when you were working with people, some of them you were leading, some of the teams you were leading had team members who were more tenured, more experienced than you were. And then you had people who were of a similar age profile, and you had very, very few people who were younger than what you were. So, how do you work with this diverse set of stakeholders? How do you keep them motivated? Because they have different motivators, they have different knowledge and skill levels, they have different aspirations. So, how do you get them together and work as a team by leveraging their strengths and driving a culture of ownership, accountability, and collaboration? So, these were on the job lessons for me. Uh, During my tenure in the corporate world, I've been able to build, link this, scale it up. In the time, I became a CHRO. And one of the important lessons which I learned while skilling, while upskilling and on leadership is it's also developing people under you. It's about identifying the right people, minimizing your biases. I realized the difference between performance and potential. And how do you link performance and potential to create a strong leadership pipeline? That's what I learned during my corporate tenure as a CHRO and subsequently as a board director. And now I'm using this experience, which is the concluding turning point in my career on helping leaders become better leaders by identifying the right people, developing them, nurturing them, and last but not the least, deploying and unleash them so that you can leverage their potential.
All right, that's a powerful start. Moving on, having led transformation at both corporate and board levels, what personal leadership shifts have you witnessed in yourself across your 35-year journey, and how have those shifts influenced the way you coach C-suite leaders?
Yeah. So while initially I started off with a fairly directive style, but a directive but nurturing style, where I would say the welfare of your team was always there at my precedence. Uh, so moving from a directive and a nurturing style to shifting to a more inclusive style of leadership, especially when you work with the C-suite leaders who clearly carry multiple and a multitude of experiences with them, a lot of strengths. So making it inclusive, but also having the ability to converge them into quantifiable outcomes. And if one doesn't do that, then one sees silos being created, confederacies being set up, and conflicts happening. So this is what helped me realize that my paradigm has shifted from being directive but nurturing to inclusive and converging.
Uh, Also, when working with leaders facing high stakes organizational restructuring, what inner conflicts do they typically conceal, and how do you help them to move from resistance to ownership of change?
Yeah. So if you look at it, there are some leaders whom one works with who are open in terms of understanding, open and self-aware in terms of understanding current reality. Uh, these leaders are, open to having honest conversations, constructive challenges and pushbacks, and creating, I would say, mutually agreeable and inclusive outcomes. So this, while the percentage is smaller and fewer, there is one set of leaders who are probably not self-aware, who probably overestimate the challenge which is there. And some of them are aware, but they don't want to be open and honest about it because they feel they are uh, exposing themselves. In other words, they're not being authentic. So these set of leaders are a little more difficult. And it starts with one, creating self awareness. Second, making them feel comfortable and addressing their insecurities by creating an environment which is safe for them to express themselves and also feel that they're not being judged or evaluated. That helps them open up both in terms of understanding current realities and also open up in terms of taking constructive feedback and constructive suggestions.
All right. Adding on to that, you blend commercial acumen with deep human capital expertise. How do you balance hard business imperatives with the human dimensions of leadership transformation?
Yeah, I think one I would say is leveraging the principle of empathy but avoiding sympathy. There's a clear difference between the two. Uh, Sometimes to take business decisions, which one needs to create the right balance. And when we talk about balance between business interests and people interest, and the third thing I would say is about being authentic, being genuine, and being clear and transparent. So three guiding principles which help me there are, like I said, uh, is being empathetic but not tilting towards sympathy, being able to understand where people come from, um, understanding the emotions which one has to go through, and respecting that. Second one is about empathy, and the third about is balancing organization interest and people interest. This will help us take the right decision for both business and people. Now, even if one is has to take a hard people decision, one, it should be treated objectively. It should be done with respect without undermining the individual's personality or trait or the individual's dignity. So even if one is to separate a person, one does it respectfully with facts, with data, and respecting the individual's dignity.
Um, Across your coaching practices with MNCs, public sector organizations, and family enterprises, what common leadership blind spots do you encounter despite vastly different industry contexts?
Yeah. One common blind spot I would say is the ability to inspire. Um, Second, people have been promoted for functional strengths because they're functionally strong in the area of finance, marketing, operations, supply chain, HR, etc. But their leadership has not always been their core strength. So the other thing which I find, which is common, but is excessive emphasis on short-term results rather than focusing on strategic and long-term outcomes. So these are some of the common issues, concerns, or challenges which I see, and which I help leaders address that, plug it, and balance it.
Right. How do you guide senior leaders in cultivating executive presence without it becoming performative or disconnected from authenticity?
Yeah. So first and foremost, helping them understand the context of executive presence, what executive presence is all about. It's not about only the way you talk, the way you appear, the way you dress, or the way you engage with people. It goes beyond that. It talks about helping them understand it's about balancing your thought, balancing your emotions, balancing your purpose, balancing your interactions, and all of that reflecting in your true authentic personality, creating a true authentic personality. So once one helps them understand the blind spot, create self-awareness, get to a stage where they move away from denial Very often you see some of them staying in the stage of denial for very long and being resistant. No, this is not me, this is not what I am, being defensive. Helping them navigate that journey from denial and then moving on to acceptance and then concrete action. I think this is where I help navigate it. Or this is the journey which can take, depending on the individual, it can take a few sessions. And I've also seen the earliest it happening in 2 sessions. For a person who
Okay.
was self-aware and who navigated this journey from denial to acceptance very quickly.
Okay. In embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion at the top levels of organizations, what breakthrough moments have you seen when a leader begins to truly embody inclusive leadership rather than merely endorse it?
Yeah. So see, this is all about putting it into practice. And when people believe in it, the first part is believing in it. Second part is, rather than having a number attached to it, very often I've seen corporates having a number attached to it. Oh, this is what your diversity hiring is, and this is what you need to do to make, very specific number-oriented actions. So it is going beyond numbers, whether it is with respect to diversity or equity or inclusion. But it's about believing in it from the heart rather than operating in the mind or numbers. Second, one needs to walk the talk. One can make a lot of statements. One can, uh, you know, even colloquially articulate it very well. But if it is not reflected in day-to-day working and tangible, measurable, and observable behaviors, which one gets to see in people, um, you will never see results happening on the ground. It's like, somebody preaching that don't smoke, but after a break, they are the ones going outside and smoking. It doesn't bring credibility.
Yes. Talking about your books, that is built to outperform and build your leadership skills, lessons from martial arts. Authors often say their books reflects parts of their lived philosophy. What parts of yourself and your leadership ideology are most present in those books?
I would say 100% of the way I've lived life. And I wouldn't say my life has been perfect. We all go through as human beings what our ups and downs, and we learn from it. We learn from it, improve, and go ahead. So both my books reflect that journey. It reflects areas which I have done well, maybe a few mistakes made, but those mistakes have helped me learn and grow. So both my books reflect that. Although the genre is slightly different, the common thread across this is building your leadership skills. But one talks, Build to Outperform talks more about how do you help become a better leader by driving your workforce productivity and efficiency, by one attracting the right people to work with you, developing them through coaching, mentoring, and various other approaches and methodologies which have helped me develop and groom leaders. And then how do you retain leaders in today's compelling, difficult times where there is a war for talent and a war for good people? How do you get your best people to stay with you? And how do you keep them continuously engaged, motivated, and feel appreciated and valued? So this is what I've captured in some of the life lessons which I've learned and built to outperform. Whereas develop your leadership skills, leveraging my own experiences as a practicing martial artist has been how martial artist has helped me evolve as a leader by helping me understand my purpose better, helping me understand my own strengths and limitations better, and also being able to create a strategy where I can maximize my limitation strengths rather than focusing on limitations which I can't do. To give a quick background, I was a practicing martial artist in my teens, then gave up martial arts for a very long time, and I've restarted martial arts in my late 50s. So one would think, why do it at this stage? But I've been passionate about it, and this is one of the things I wanted to do, towards this stage of my life or career. And so it is passion and purpose which drove me. And there are certain things which I could do as a team, which I know I can't do it at my age at this point of time. And one of the things which I realized is you don't have to do that. So you don't have to compare yourself as what you were as a team. You have to see what are the strengths which you bring to the table today, considering your age, uh, and what are the physical limitations do you have, and how do you convert that negativity or things which you can't do into opportunities. So, for example, today I find it a little difficult. I don't have that kind of flexibility to kick at a face level. So I've realized you don't have to kick at the face level. So I've made my kicks. Uh, Punches have always been strong for me, but I've made my kicks so strong at the waist level and above that it can shake a person up if I were to use it in a combat situation. So rather than focusing on developing my kicks at a face level, which is good in a competition to score points, but I'm training to one for self-discipline and also being able to defend myself, considering crimes against senior citizens also going up. To defend myself in a situation, God forbid if it arises. But I need to focus on what I can do rather than what I can't do. So this has
True.
been an important self-learning for me. And I also leverage this in leaders. I keep telling them, don't talk about things which you can't do, which are beyond your control. First, see whether you've done all the things which are within your control.
All right. So it's true when people say that age is just a number when you are truly passionate about something, right? And when we talk about leadership, uh, adding to your book, a lot of people want to become leaders, but while in the process of becoming leaders, they try to manage things. Then they end up becoming a manager, not a leader. So, do you have any advice for them on how to become a good leader?
Yeah. So one, I think leadership is not about a position, designation, or a title. It is about your core values and whether people follow you despite you being not having that experience, title, or designation. Now, very often, a person who's an individual contributor can also be respected and valued for what they bring to the table, either in terms of subject matter expertise or in terms of their compassion and willingness to help and groom people. So they bring those strengths to the table as well. So they are the ones who are respected, and very often they are the go-to people when people are in trouble, rather than looking at their manager for help or looking at some elderly people for help. You find them go to certain people when they are in trouble. They become your guides, buddies, mentors without having any title or any defined responsibility. So they've earned that respect. So as a leader, earn your respect, don't demand respect. And leadership is not a position or a title.
That's a great line. All right. Many leaders appear outwardly successful yet feel stuck at a crossroad internally. What questions do you ask to help them access the deeper clarity needed to realign with their purpose?
So I believe in sticking to the basics, and I believe is keep the problem statement clear. Uh, One, in terms of helping them understand what issue or problem are you trying to address. So I ask them questions which talk about what problem are you trying to solve, and I ask them questions, if you were to solve this problem, how would it make you feel? That gives me a clear picture on are they clear on the issue, the challenge, or the problem they're trying to solve, and how important is it to them. If these don't sync up, then I think we need to spend more time in helping them either define the problem or define their measure of success clearly, or the importance of the measure of success clearly. The second part, which I honestly feel working with leaders in this case, is helping them get a clear view of current reality and an honest view of current reality. Not operating in an ivory tower, but knowing what are the current prevailing priorities which are there on the ground, recognizing them. Very often, I've seen a person can be an ivory tower general and can be very distant from the current reality which the troops are undergoing on the ground fighting the trenches. So if there is a major disconnect, we do have a problem there. Then it's about also helping them understand what do they need to do to overcome those options, and helping. It's not about only giving advice or only asking questions, but it's a combination of both. It's helping them see the mirror, helping them see different options available to them, helping them evaluate the best options after viewing it objectively, the pros and cons, and then establishing a clear way forward
All right.
with very specific actions.
Yes. Okay. Working, what has working across Asia, the USA, Europe, and the UK revealed about the cultural in leadership, and what traits of effective leadership seem universal across geographies?
Yeah. So there are cultural nuances in the way leaders think and the way leaders react to situations. There are cultural nuances which you see across Asia, across maybe Europe, and across the Americas. But what cuts across as common threads is, one is the drive for results. Um, Leaders are passionate about desiring and delivering results on the ground. They may choose to do it in different ways. Some may do it in a more authoritative way, a more directive way. Some may do it in a more inclusive way. Some may do it in a more participative. But the commonality is the drive for results. Commonality here again is the importance of getting your teams aligned with your goals, visions, and purposes. What are you trying to deliver? And the other part is recognizing the need. Now, not everyone does it very equally well, but recognizing that to keep your team motivated and engaged uh, to do their job and trying to hold the team together. So these are some of the commonalities what leaders want to get. What I would want leaders to do more is spend a little more time effectively developing and nurturing their secondary life. And so that, when they move on, either to a bigger role or outside the organization for better prospects or a change in career, they have left the role which they had taken in a far better position than what they had inherited. So if leaders they converge to that, and everybody is able to do that, we will definitely see transformation and improvement.
All right. When you look back at your own tenure as a Chief Human Resources Officer and HR Director in global corporations, what difficult lessons reformed how you later approached executive coaching and leadership development?
See, one of the difficulties which one had seen and which also was a bit of a conflict in values was organization politics. So uh, clearly, and very often organization politics come in the way of driving a culture of high performance and meritocracy. It is all about aligning to agendas of very specific people. Um, Now, these are different family-run businesses. You have the owner or the family member or the founder who drives things. But in a multinational corporation, I've seen every 2 to 3 years you have a change in leader who brings in a different agenda, who brings in a different set of people. And very often they want people whom they've worked with in their past organizations. And they try to replace people who have been there in the current organization. So I see this as a concern. And eventually, this is what I try to address in organizations and with leaders who are wanting to drive that and are passionate to drive that. But I clearly don't support or work with leaders who have a political agenda. So I clearly choose not to work with these leaders. I'm sure there will be people who are willing to work with them and help them, but that does not align with my value system. But yes, I do work with a few leaders who are great managers, but who are finding it a little difficult to navigate organization politics. So I help them navigate it, but not create organization politics.
Okay. If you had to distill your decades of experiences into one insight about what truly enables leaders to build future ready, high performance organizations, what would that be and why?
Yeah. So see, there is no one word, but I can probably phrase it in a sentence, which outlines our philosophy, the metamorphosis philosophy, which I call it, and which we try to leverage with a client. It's not leadership is not built by one activity or one trait, but it is a combination of integrating strategy, your organization, your business strategy, having the right strategy, having the right organization to structure to back it up, having the right skills for the right people in the right role, having the right culture, and having the right processes, tool, or technology. If you are able to bind all of these together, even if one of these are missing, you will never build high performing transformation or sustainable organizations. You need to have all these building blocks put together to make a rock solid foundation.
I guess that is it for today. But if you have anything apart from the questions to speak on, you can go ahead and talk.
No, I think your questions have been very comprehensive, and you've given me the opportunity to share my experiences. Hopefully, it will benefit the audience.
Yes.
And the only probable point which I would like to conclude by saying is not all leaders are born, but people can be made, leaders can be made, and leaders can be transformed. And this is where, my journey or my passion or my purpose at this stage of my life and career are to develop leaders who in turn will build transformation organizations.
Okay. Ajay, thank you so much for sharing your journey and insights with us today. And this conversation has been full of wisdom, practical takeaways that I know our listeners will carry forward, I'm sure. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on Education Eureka.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much, Ajay. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.